We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Thursday, um, and we have a guest. We have a guest that we've never had on the show. We typically like to call them fresh meat. So, so we're bringing in Danz, and it's not
That's right.
Dan, it's Danz. You're in New York City, and you're
Yep.
a personal chef, which intrigues me because I love cooking, and I love the whole aspect of it. So, Danz, you're in New York City. Your partner.
Yes.
You're not married.
Yes. She's my partner, Lisa. Yep.
Okay,
She's my partner, Lisa. She'll be joining us momentarily.
Lisa will pop in here shortly. She's also a listener. I got to ask you, a
hmm
personal chef in New York City, how in the hell do you get sucked into this Rational Boomer thing?
Oh, that's easy. I first of all am entertained by the notion that there's a you on TikTok. So
Yeah,
first
me
things
too.
first.
Me
First
too.
things first things first. I appreciate the fact that well, okay, come in because she's here now. Um, okay, I first of all appreciate the fact that you are doing this. Like, your platform is one of the most fun things I've ever come across.
Thank you.
Period. And informative. And informative. And you got to know that from the first time I saw you 4 years ago, I mean, the very first post you put up, I said, "Oh, don't ever go away." I'm not kidding. Don't ever go away.
Well, you know,
Please.
when I first got on TikTok, everybody said you got to have a niche, and
Mhm.
um, and I didn't know what the fuck kind of niche to have or anything like that. So
Mhm.
I realized later that what my niche was that I look like this, but I talk like that. I tell
Sure.
people, you see me walking down the street, you go, no, there's a Trump humper, racist motherfucker. And then I start talking, they go, that's weird. So I
That's
got a
weird.
novelty aspect to this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. That's the same as mine. I mean, the life of a chef is really simple. It's you're grabbing menus and you're grabbing clients.
Right.
You're just figuring out whether or not people want to eat and figuring out their personality and being able to feed the personality.
Right.
You do the same thing. You feed the personalities. That's what I do. I mean, the job of any person who ever cooks in this lifetime, whether you feed your family, you feed friends, you feed strangers, is to be able to go from seeing them to seeing yourself prepare whatever that personality extends to. You know,
Exactly.
one thing Lisa can account to this. I make pizza a lot.
I love pizza.
Okay. Uh,
I call him the Panamanian Pasquale.
okay. and I can tell you that anytime I ever make something, I don't care what it is, but anytime I make something, I understand that I'm not just extending myself. I'm reaching across the table.
Yeah.
I'm reaching across to the other person. So even in my politics is the same way. Look, I'm a blue dot if there ever was one, but I do know that one thing that's important is that I'm reaching across to another table. I'm
Right.
reaching across to another person. You know, you're an independent. I don't disregard how you feel about things, and whenever I'm speaking, but I make sure that I make it known that there are going to be people that I'm going to reach across to, and we're going to have conversations about living, which is
Right.
far more important to me than anything else in the world. We're all living. We're all on this planet. We're all drinking water. We're all breathing air. We're all taking a dump. And every
Right.
shit that we take, we still got to be able to clean up after ourselves. So
Right.
it's important that we know how we function.
Well, you know, that's the thing. Before 2015, we would
Mhm.
all have different attitudes and different
Yeah.
beliefs, and we would still interact. And I have a
Mhm.
Bless
friend
you.
that
Bless you.
I'm coughing actually. It's just fucking cold.
Mm.
But so I have a friend that I grew up with, and we're like best buddies, and
Mhm.
went through high school and college together. And he lives out kind of near me, and I sat with him probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and he is he's a Trump humper. He's a wealthy guy. He's a Trump humper, and at the time we
Mm.
were just kind of going back and forth, being buddies. But I've been reluctant to go to him because I don't want to
Mhm.
ruin our history of being friends.
Yep.
Because
Mhm.
back then we weren't talking about politics at all. And that's the thing. When I go out in public, I don't really go looking to talk about politics. My wife says, "Don't talk about politics." I said, "I don't talk about politics."
I don't want
But if some dumb,
to.
but if some dumb motherfucker comes up and says some lie to me, I gotta speak.
Yeah.
And that's
Mhm.
what happens. Those people that feel an innate need to come in and start saying some shit to me because they know what I talk about online. Those are
Okay.
the people I have a problem with. But normally I would just, we got to live our lives and we got to be people, and we're different in all different ways. You're in New York, I'm in Minnesota. Um,
Mhm.
but that's beside the point. We all got to connect with people. And that's what you do as a chef, and you, Lisa, probably do as in your business. And that's all I'm trying to do is connect with people. And it'll be nice when we can
Yeah.
get back to that and not have to say, "I like you, but are you MAGA?" Because if you're MAGA, fuck you.
No, I agree with you. The worst thing that ever happened was that man's coming down that escalator. The worst thing. He has really, I mean, it's like if you remember watching the Blob,
Yeah.
okay, he has made politics interwoven in every corner of fabric. Sports can't get around it. You're talking about Kaepernick, or you're talking about this, or you're talking about that. If you're talking about uh fashion, you're talking about somebody who walked around with tax the rich or whatever. Everything that I mean, he literally has tried to make sure that it is in every aspect, every conversation. So it's gotten so difficult. It's difficult to talk about anything that isn't politics related because he has stuffed it in every crack and crevice.
Well, it just came out that Brittany Mahomes, Pat Mahomes' wife, she's a fucking goofball anyway, but she says she's a Trump humper and she doesn't care what
Mhm.
people think. I'm a Trump humper. But now, when you watch football, you're going to have to look sideways at Pat Mahomes. How could you be married to that shit? You
Mhm.
know, the problem I have with Trump humpers, people will say to me,
Mhm.
"Well, when it's all over, you guys can be friends again." Nah, because what you did
No.
was so egregious. You're trying to
Yep.
destroy this country, and while it may not affect
Mhm.
me directly, it's going to affect my kids or my grandkids. And when you do that,
Mhm.
it's fucking
Mhm.
over. I don't know that I can forgive people.
And it's also, I mean, a lot of it is very racist. And
Oh,
if it isn't racist, it's anti-Semitic. And if it isn't anti-Semitic, it's just constantly disqualifying everybody from existing in any which way, or they're either misogynists or anti-Semites, or they're racist. How
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 does how does get repaired?
how do you
it's
look
tough.
at somebody how do you look at somebody who goes behind somebody and fist pumps behind George Floyd, or
Yeah,
behind and says, oh, but he was just a criminal, you've been, first off, they're fed bullshit and then they spew lies. So it's
right.
like, how do you look at a person who and they are expressing themselves based on what they've heard, and what they sound like is the worst version of themselves.
Well, it's so ignorant too. I've told the story that I had a father that was kind of a mini Trump, same kind of personality. The only difference was
Mhm.
is he
Mm-hmm.
was a lot smarter than Donald Trump, so he was
Mm-hmm.
more
Mhm.
dangerous. But he was racist.
Mm-hmm.
He was racist behind the scenes. And if you met a black friend of mine, he was of course charming. But I knew
Mm-hmm.
what he really thought, and I just it's hard when you're a little kid and that you're around that not to say, well, dad says that must be true. But
Mm-hmm.
then but I get tired of people saying, well, my dad thought that way, so that's how I think. Yeah, that's well and good, but eventually you become an adult and you know what's right and wrong,
Yep.
and you have to make
Mhm.
that decision. You don't lean on that
Mm-hmm.
crutch that dad did it, so I got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You should have enough common sense to say, Yeah, that's fucked up. Dad wasn't thinking then. But
I tend to just think that are like father. Well, I don't know when your father was alive, but mine was born in 1929 and passed in 2014. He was a product of his time.
well, that's true.
He
And yeah, that's true. And I've said this before. You have to people in 2024 talk about racism, but in the 70s, when I was in my teens, and the 60s, racism was accepted. If you
Yes.
said the
Sure.
N-word, nobody would say anything.
Nope.
Nope. Mm.
And that wasn't
Nope.
a good time in that regard. It's my, I'm curious as to what you guys think about this. I've said, there was a period of time after the 70s, everybody said, well, racism got really a lot better. And I just don't think it did. I just think the racists were hiding under their rocks up until the time
Correct.
Donald Trump said, hey, it's cool to be racist. And
One
then it
hundred
just
percent
inflamed
correct.
again.
100% correct. And I'll even give you something that you can even chew on based on that. When it came to Donald Trump, particularly in this this particular city, and right where we live, in fact, we live in an area called Queens, okay, in New York
We don't
City.
live too far away from where he grew up.
Oh yes, not that far. Not that far. Maybe less than 5 minutes, less than 5 miles away from where he grew up. So he, I mean, I'm sure you've heard every story. I'm sure you've heard, about the rent, the Trump Village, the rents that he was, the rentals that he was denying, the exonerated five, the number of different businesses that he's bankrupted, and the nonsense that he did, back then, if you want to call them businesses. The point. I mean, but racism itself, now I'm going to move away from him. Racism itself didn't die. It was just quieted.
Yeah, absolutely.
It had a code. Okay. It had a code.
Yeah.
Now, I went to school in Boston first before I came back here.
Little racist there too, right?
Little racist there too. But then, I was involved with a woman before this lady here.
Don't talk about that. You will.
No, I can. No, I can. And here's why. Because that lady and I, is my ex-wife. And my ex-wife lives in a little town called Port Charlotte, Florida.
God help her.
God help her. She grew up.
Familiar.
Now, mind you, she grew up a Puerto Rican woman, okay, who was originally born and bred in Brooklyn, New York, who was forced by her army father to take her and her three brothers and her mother down to Port Charlotte, Florida. You know anything about Port Charlotte, Florida?
A little bit.
It's as racist as it can be.
Yeah.
Now, we raised a son there for a year.
Wow.
I barely got out alive.
Literally.
Okay? I literally got out barely alive. So when I tell you that racism is alive and well, I don't care what anybody says. Okay. I went from one form of being stuck behind racism in 1993 America in Boston, Massachusetts, to then going 1994, okay, heading down to Port Charlotte, Florida, to be with somebody who literally had nearly cost me my life.
Wow.
Twice.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So the fact that woman got me to marry her, all right, and divorce me, it's a lot.
That's a lot.
And don't you think for one second, that I didn't learn my lesson?
Well, yeah, you got to do that. I mean,
okay.
Fuck.
But I do understand this. And this is a very important thing. I can't label everybody. I cannot. It is so important that we even understand that when we even look at the term white people, it is a very different term than what people think, because there's a very big difference between people and persons.
Oh yeah.
And if you understand that, and I mean, I know you know this, but a white person versus white people is a whole different story. because
Yeah.
the individual carries around their quote unquote martyrdom,
Well,
and they carry it around with a cross on their back, okay, and telling the world, "Oh, I got every burden on me,"
right.
and wants you to fix it.
Well, and my wife was a teacher, and
Mm. God bless.
my wife always bemoaned these teachers that thought of themselves as white saviors. We're going to save all these poor inner city kids. And I said, honey, you
Mm-hmm.
understand that's just as racist as calling them the N word. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you have to pull these people out as if they can't do it themselves. The families can't do it. That's why it's important. And that's where the silliness of racism is. It isn't about the color. I mean, it's like whether you have blonde hair or brown hair or blue eyes or green eyes, it's aesthetics, but
Mm-hmm.
people are people. You got to get to know the people. I was telling
Right.
you
Agreed.
before, I don't hold anything against anybody who's of different race, different gender, different sexual orientation, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't give them a pass either. If you're a
Right. You
dick,
said
you're
that.
a dick,
You're a dick. Exactly.
you know? A-
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
people say, well, you can't because he's black. I go, I don't care. He's a dick.
Dick.
And I said,
He's
it's
gonna
not,
know that whether he's black or he's
yeah.
white.
And the thing is, it isn't about, I think, treating people preferential because you're guilty is
Mhm.
racist in a sense.
Oh yeah.
I said, all the people that are of color for me, they just want to be treated equal. If I'm
Yeah,
with
that
my black friend
overcompensation.
and I treat them just like
Mhm.
my right friend, that's what we're supposed to do because you're
Right.
people.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, I always try to remember, I always try to point people in the direction of knowing that, you are a person first before you ever talk about this.
Absolutely.
I mean, and that's how I treat people. I mean, look, if I'm disgusting to somebody, I'm disgusting to somebody. First of all, you have to piss me off to get a disgusting reaction from me. That's number one. Number two,
Doesn't take much. I can do it in a couple minutes.
that's because you're a trained professional.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what it
That's because you're a trained professional, and I won't talk about the trained professionality. But seriously, we all have to learn one another. We
We
all have to
do.
learn one another, and we have to learn each other individually too, and
Absolutely.
stop with the ingratiation of everything is in a community. I guarantee you might find 10 guys down the street. I guarantee you, if 4 of them are black, if 3 of them are Latino, and if 3 of them are white, there are 10 people walking towards you. There are
Yeah.
not 10 black, white, and Latin people coming towards you. There are 10 people coming towards you.
Right. Exactly.
Period.
and nobody thinks the same.
Mm-mm.
And I've always said if you start a sentence with all of you or all of them or all of they, you're starting the sentence off incorrectly because I have yet to meet 2 people who have the same ideas about anything. They might agree on a few things, but they didn't get there in the same way that in this
You
they
did
didn't
or I
they
did.
didn't come there, they didn't get there by the same path, is what I mean to say.
Well, that's a wonderful thing about TikTok. If I
Yeah.
put my old ass pasty face on TikTok and didn't say a word, everybody would have assumptions about me.
Of
But
course.
but because I was able to open my mouth and say what I say, people get to know you and they
Yes.
relate to you or they hate you. I
Mhm.
mean,
Well, they hate you.
let's just be honest. There's some people out there that think I'm a despicable motherfucker, and I take great joy in that. I don't mind pissing off assholes. I love that.
Feel like
But
I worked hard for it.
but it was like having Dan's on here or Lisa. I didn't know you beforehand, and whenever I do that,
Mhm.
I try to get a quick read on somebody as to who I'm talking to,
Mhm.
because I've been very lucky with the people who come on the show. They're listeners, and they've all been very good, very different in many ways. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's a matter of can you connect with somebody and can you have a conversation that's productive as opposed to
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
bullshit.
We
And
were
Mhm.
listening to your podcast with Arlene, and we
Yeah.
thought that was just wonderful. She's amazing too. She's really amazing.
she's brilliant. And like I told her, I said, you seem to come up with the data to back up the bullshit I say, which makes me feel good. Because I'm not a detailed data guy. I mean, somewhat,
Yeah,
but
Yeah, you're not
but
an analytics guy. Mm-mm.
I look at what and I
you
get a
go with
sense
your
of
gut.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think if more people did that, we'd have more success. Now, when Joe Biden stepped aside, and
Yeah,
you know, I thought that was a mistake because I thought Joe was going to beat Donald Trump no matter what. You know, it may not be pretty, but I think this was an
yeah,
election about people hating Donald Trump, not which one of them were more
yeah,
popular. And Joe's, you know, been
right,
productive and all that. But then I said, if he steps aside, he must go with Kamala just by
right.
virtue of the situation. And
We
I
agree
really
with
got
that.
I really got the sense that a lot of people wanted to jump over Kamala and get, you know, Gavin Newsom or somebody they thought would be more effective. And and I said, that's going to be a mistake. You're going to piss off people of color all over this country, you know, shitting on a woman of
Yeah,
color when she's the next one in line. I think
yeah,
Joe did a masterful thing. He said, "Okay, you want me to step aside, motherfucker?
yeah.
I'm gonna pin it on her, and you're going to be stuck with her." And then all of a sudden, it explodes. It was a
Not
masterful
and
play.
and
Mm-hmm.
and not only was it masterful the way he did it, but when he did it. He waited for this guy to put Vance in line. And then he waited for them to say I do at the altar and then put it into motion. That I thought was like that was next level masterclass. I
Yeah,
mean, Joe Biden is a Scorpio. He's
yeah,
November 20th, same day as my sister. Trust me when I tell you, you ever need revenge done on anybody, you ask a Scorpio. They
yeah,
are.
yeah.
Having a brother whose birthday is November 5th, I can relate.
You know,
But
yeah. The thing about with Joe Biden is maybe sleepy and all that stuff, but he is a calculating motherfucker, and he is smart. He's been the most productive president of our time, if not all time, and
yeah,
you can't
I
deny the
I
results.
agree.
There's two things I hate people
What
saying
may
to
be
me.
the scariest thing?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're on the show.
Well, what may be the scariest thing to me? Sure. What may be the scariest thing to me may be the fact that Joe Biden could juggle, 50 things at once.
Yeah.
And if you think about that, I mean, go all the way down to literally the night before he announced, okay, there's a lot of shit going on in the
Oh
world.
yeah.
In our country and out of our country. And you're talking about an 81-year-old man.
Yeah.
All right. This man, I just turned 50 last month.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
a baby.
I'm a baby. Okay. I have no problem saying it. I'm a baby. But I mean, this man picked up the whole world in his hands at 81 years old and basically said, it's not me. I know what I'm going to do, though.
Yeah.
And the next morning, he woke up and he placed a call. Kamala, it's going to be you. It's not going to be me. And I'm good with it. And then, in probably the most Donald Trump of Donald Trump ways, if you really think about it, in the most Donald Trump of Donald Trump ways, he basically pulled a Donald Trump right on everybody.
Right.
And
See, people know how to do it, right?
that's what's been kicking his ass.
Yeah.
This entire time, from the minute that tweet went out. Okay, because it wasn't an announcement. Well, he didn't sit down in front of the country and say, yes, I'm stepping down, until much later. He put out a tweet, okay, an X, for lack of a better term, who cares? And basically just said, enjoy.
Yeah, he did. He just flipped him off. You know the thing that was interesting to me is prior to him stepping aside, and I said if he steps aside, he has to pick Kamala, and I really believe that. And I got this comment from a lot of people. They go, well, I don't know if America is ready for a female president, a black female president at that. I go, fuck you. Now here we are with Kamala Harris as the nominee, And I don't personally think her color or gender really matters that much anymore. So I think this may have been the perfect time for her to actually be the candidate, because there are bigger issues we're worried about. They know who she is. They know she's a fighter, and we need a fighter. They don't
And
care whether color she is or whether
but
she's
she
a
also
woman.
doesn't make an issue of it. She doesn't
No.
say, I'm going to be the first woman, I'm going to be the first Black woman. She doesn't. Look at what she did and how she handled the interview of all the interview to end all interviews.
Right,
When
right.
he said, I mean, she was like, same old. Next question. She's in Dana Bash was like, that's it? Yeah, that's it. Well,
Game over. Move
Well,
on.
well, yeah, that was it. She said, yeah, same old playbook. Next question.
Yeah.
And I think Dana Bash was playing this game that CNN does. Let's suck her into a little shit show here so we can expose her for who she is.
Yeah.
Kamala knew what was going on there and said, "Fuck yourself. I don't care." And
I'm doing that.
I've said to people, the most powerful attitude you can have in life is, "I don't give a fuck." Somebody
Don't
comes
give a
up and
fuck.
says you're a loser. I don't give a fuck. And
That's nice.
Yeah.
and it works. And that's exactly what she did, and it was brilliant.
But she completely, between her and Walls, who I totally love, they completely took the air right out of the balloon.
They did.
Like, as far as the conversation, I mean, everybody was sitting there struggling with how, calling people fascists and calling people racists and calling people, like Hitler and Shitler and this and that. And, and finally, he just said, the guy's weird. That's it. Just make him as small as he should be. And I'm like, brilliant.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant. The man doesn't have a law degree. Brilliant.
Well, you know what the thing about it is that in most cases, a vice presidential nominee doesn't really weigh in much when it comes to the election. I think
At
in
all.
this case,
Unless
he
you're J.D.
will.
Vance.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but with Tim Walz, it was interesting to me. I think I said it to Old Soul yesterday that that Kamala's a great speaker. She's very inspirational. She's very presidential. But if you really want to jack up a crowd, there's nobody better than Tim Walz. He reminds me of the guy that went to the teacher and the coach that went to pep rallies, pulled up his socks in his shirt, and was screaming and got people, and people still love this guy. That's who Tim Walz is, and he's going to be extremely valuable in that regard.
Can I tell you, Boom, the night when I first saw him on TV, he did an interview on MSNBC, and I just heard his words, and he reminded me of somebody instantly. You're going to know this name, okay? He reminded me of John Spencer.
John Spencer.
He reminded me of the actor John Spencer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
From The West Wing. He reminded me of him so much. It was as simple, but it was so intelligent.
He's the guy in West Wing. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
As soon as I heard him give his initial speech, though, boom, I played college hockey. Okay. I did. I played college hockey. I was a defenseman.
Okay.
And I will tell you this, I have not suited up to play a game in, how old am I again? 50 years old? I have not played a game since I was 20 years old. It's been 30 years.
We still have the skate.
I was ready. Trust me, I was ready to grab pads, to put on a uniform and just go run through a wall for that guy. Yeah. Like and you know what? You came to mind. I got to tell you, you came to mind. And the reason being is because I said, you know what? Right now, I am sure there is not a single Minnesotan that we know. And it turns out we know some too.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. It turns out we know some too.
My aunt and uncle and their 4 kids lived in Minnetonka for, I don't know, about 10
I live on Lake
years.
Minnetonka, so I'm familiar
There you
with
go.
it.
Okay. So I said, there's not a Minnesotan not beaming with pride tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
Listening to him. I said, I wanted to run through a wall for this guy. I said, I get it. I know why this guy was a coach.
Yeah.
Look how simple it is. Look how energetic but simple it is.
Yeah.
I kept screaming that. I called my mom. You have to understand something. I called my mom. All right. My mom lives, about half an hour away from me. And my mom is a 75-year-old blind woman, okay, diabetic, on dialysis, in a wheelchair. And I can tell you this. She heard me and she said, you want to go play, don't you? I'm not kidding. She said, you want to go play, don't you? And I said, Mom, I haven't felt like this since I was 20 years old.
Well, and that's the thing about this whole climate of what's going on now. I really believe that, for the last 10 years or 8 years anyway, we've been in this dark cave that people have been dealing with chaos and
Abusive
bullshit. Yeah, we've been abused kids basically. And then all of a sudden we see Kamala and then Tim Walz, and it's like a light at the end of the tunnel, and we are starved for just some joy, some sunshine or whatever.
Agreed.
And that's part of what's fueling this excitement and this enthusiasm behind it. It's not just who they are, but what they bring. And we're ready for this shit. We're tired of the bullshit we've been put through.
Yeah. Agreed. Trust me when I tell you, I've heard about Donald Trump since I'm 2 years old, just about. So for 50 years, this man has traumatized me in one way, shape, or form. My father used to play handball down in Coney Island, and we used to drive past the Trump Village. And so he used to point and used to say, look, you see those buildings over there? I don't know who the fuck that guy got living over there. Well, in Yiddish, they say he doesn't allow Schwarzes there, he don't allow this there, and he doesn't allow that there. He goes, oh, who the fuck he got living over there? At 2.5, maybe 3 years old, this is what I was listening to. So you can understand how I can relate to you as you cuss away.
Well, I have a question for you. Is your father Paulie from The Sopranos? Because he sounds like it.
No.
Oh,
he
might have been in a different life.
Maybe. Anything is possible.
In a different life.
But it was my firm belief that he leapt up out of his grave and ran down the Long Island Expressway and voted for Trump. But he was because my father was into the birther movement as well.
He was.
So that yeah,
he bought into it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he bought that bullshit. Hook, line, and sinker.
No. Yeah.
I'll tell you, the first time I met him, oh boy, that was a day. That was a day. I mean, we had just met like 4 months prior, and I was meeting him for the first time, and it was like, and first of all, it was supposed to be like a joyous occasion. It turned into anything but a joyous occasion, because I mean, it was supposed to be a party. It was, we were enjoying an engagement of a cousin of hers, and boy, that turned into.
But yes.
That sunny day turned real gray real fast.
Was it because of his take on you?
Because of his take on things.
Well, he
not on me.
He was a person who liked to, just like you said about your dad. He was a person who liked to say he wasn't racist when he actually was.
Right.
A product of his time, basically. And I mean, he's gone now 10 years already. So, but and it's funny, Danz was asking me, do you think he would still be buying into his bullshit? I know January 6th would have woke his ass the hell up.
Yeah. You would hope so.
We would hope so, yes.
God willing. But I mean, it's like I feel between the COVID deaths and the people who you have to feel like they are dead because of their differing political beliefs.
Right.
Because you can't, I mean, you lose people, you lose friends, you lose family, with something like this. I mean, it's they've really, I mean, like I was saying before, because politics has permeated through almost all the different avenues of conversation, that you can barely have a conversation without it becoming political.
Right.
You feel like you end up feeling like you've lost someone. It got to the point where I've asked people that I have a friend of mine who's a trainer. She's a personal trainer, and she has a client who's 107 years old.
Wow.
And yep, and he still works out. And he was in the camps. He was in a work camp. He was a scientist, and he still is a scientist.
I was about to say.
Yeah, and
Wow.
Yeah, at 107, he's still a scientist.
I know,
Yeah.
right? And he's probably looking at you like, you're a baby. And I said to her to ask him, you know, when it's all said and done, when the dust finally settles, what does one say to one's neighbor after, because he was in Europe when World War II occurred? What do you say to your neighbor who watched your family get dragged and all of this? What do you say?
Yeah.
And, how do you reconcile that? Because that's literally how I perceive what we've been through. I mean, when I'll be honest with you, as much as I like Joe Biden, as much as I prayed that we would win with Joe Biden as our candidate, I was I was getting very prepared to have to move to Canada, because Danz is not white and I am not Christian. So therefore,
Wow.
I was like,
there's a kind of a side joke to that, but we'll talk about that another day.
Well, had I known that, you'd never been on the show. No, I'm sure.
Oh, we're fired already?
we just got our pink slip.
Just got
Well, I said something on TikTok today that I actually thought was profound and a good analogy. And I don't usually look at myself that well, but I'm trying to look at this country, and I've been hearing these things about how there are a lot of Republicans now hoping Donald Trump will lose because he's destroying the party. And I always look at what we're in right now, those people who are still sticking with Donald Trump and the Republican Party, as kind of drug addicts that are hooked on something, and they've reached rock bottom, and now they've got a choice.
I heard you. I heard you say that
they either get rehabbed or they die.
Yeah, I could tell you this. I could tell you this personally. Okay. At 15 years old, I went into rehab for alcohol. Okay. I can tell you this very sincerely. That's not the analogy you should use for them.
Okay.
Here's the one you can use. That'll be more effective. The same time that prior to that moment happening to me, of needing to go to rehab, I was sexually assaulted when I was in high school. As a freshman, I was a freshman in high school.
Okay.
And I can tell you this personally: what Donald Trump did to this country, and particularly to the Republican Party. I used to belong to the Republican Party as a late teenager, turning into my early 20s. What he did to them is he reminded them that I can use the best parts of what you normally would do, and I could do them even better. Right. Now, if you think about it carefully, now I want you to think about this really carefully. Michael Douglas playing the role of fictional president Andrew Shepard in the movie The American President basically said this. I know you heard this probably on my TikTok as well.
Yeah.
Okay. He basically said this: when it comes to Republicans, this is what they do. They do two things, and two things only: make you afraid of it and tell you who's to blame for it. And that, folks, is how you win elections.
Yep.
That's exactly how Donald Trump did. Why? Because their playbook is pretty damn easy.
Yeah.
Now, here's what he really did to them. He basically slapped them around and told them they were the problem. Now I'm going to show you how to be even better at what you do.
Yeah.
By being better than you at what you do. So while he humiliated them, while he abused them, okay, he then showed them how to be a better version of themselves. And a lot of them have come to realize, and a lot of them have come to realize, oh shit,
That's what we look.
that's what we look like.
It took
And
him a long time to figure that out, though.
A long time. And you know who's the biggest, who shows that the most and quite often is Lindsey Graham.
Oh God, yeah.
I know you knew what I was thinking.
I know you were going to say Lady G.
No, Lindsey Graham is the one who shows it the most, because every time you think that Lindsey Graham is going to straighten up and remember who his old friends were,
Right.
the late John McCain,
Exactly.
Okay, and a guy that we knew in a different way, okay, in Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden, okay, who were friends of his. He gets this subtle but quick reminder: get back in line.
Yeah.
And what does he do? He goes right back to kissing Donald Trump's ass.
Yeah.
Every time. And that's how you know.
You know, the one thing about Donald Trump too, I kind of tie that. That's a good analogy. That's a better analogy than what I said. But one of the things, I don't know that Donald Trump is getting all the information, the true information about what's really going on with him. And I liken it to when I was a little kid and I had a narcissistic, hair-triggered temper dad. There was a point when you sat around and you're 7, 8, 9 years old and dad would go off the fucking hook and go crazy. And when you're 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 years old, you were terrified of that. So you would pay close attention and you'd be careful as to not send him down that path. And if he was headed that way, you try to pull him down another path. So you wouldn't tell him certain things. You might pat him on the back. You might compliment them because you knew that worked. And I think that's happening a lot around him. I think they don't tell him all the things, and I think they tell him what he wants to hear, and that's why he continues to feel like he's strong.
That's correct.
I'll be honest.
That's correct.
I'll be honest with you, as somebody who's been watching him for all of these years, he's lost a lot of the glue that kept him together.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, youth is one thing, and age will put a little grease in your mouth and, give you a little social lubricant, and you'll go off and say whatever you want to say. But there used to be a time he was able to keep a conversation. It may not be pleasant, but it was coherent. Now he is not coherent at all.
No, he's lost it.
And I mean, I watch a lot of MSNs. So Reverend Al will say his kids gotta come get your daddy. Like
yeah, exactly.
Like, because I mean it's really bad. And I mean, now I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. Like I dabble a little bit. Okay, so let me ask you this to see what you think.
Okay.
Isn't it weird, okay, that he's bringing up this Hannibal Lecter shit?
Yeah.
Okay, and the star of Hannibal Lecter is the co-star of Hannibal Lecter is Jodie Foster, and Jodie Foster was obviously the actress that the person who attempted to assassinate Reagan was trying to impress.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. And then he has this assassination. I don't know. There's no such thing as coincidence. I just don't know why that
pops up that way.
What I don't understand is I feel like there should be a connection, but I don't know what it is.
Well, it's ironic that you should say that, and it tells me we got a connection here too, because when he was shot, my brother who isn't online, but he feeds me a lot of stuff. He's like a co-producer on a lot of stuff. But
Mhm.
he said Trump got shot, but he's alive. And I'm kind of ashamed, but not really ashamed that he and I were texting jokes back and forth, you know? And they were pretty funny, and I wouldn't probably use them online. But one of the jokes I said that I knew my brother would get and a lot of people wouldn't get, I wrote, "Well, I hope Jodie Foster's finally fucking impressed."
You see, even you caught,
I
like,
did. I
like
did.
this to me, this is just it's so that's what made honestly, that's what makes me feel like that whole thing was staged.
It's just too many weird things about it. I mean, it sounds crazy to say it was staged.
No,
And right after
no.
immediately I said it was staged, and then I heard somebody die. I go, that's crazy. It's not staged.
But then here's the thing, though.
So many
He doesn't
weird
give a
things.
fuck about people living and dying.
1 million people
He
died of
really
COVID.
doesn't. 1 million people died of COVID. The 13 what do you call it? It's the 13 soldiers that he just got. He's getting raked along the coals for.
Yeah.
I still think he probably shoved his ex-wife down the stairs. Yeah, I told you I like to dabble.
Yeah, there's a little bit too much. There's a little bit too much kick over here.
Well, here's the
I'm
thing.
I'm not a weirdo, but I do like to occasionally like, that is something to consider.
I do too. Not all conspiracy theories are fake. Most are. But here's the thing is when it comes to faking the assassination or Ivana getting shoved down the steps or something, under normal circumstances, you would say, yeah, that's fucking crazy. But the moment Donald Trump is included in the equation, you go, well, you got to think about it.
There's some there. Oh, yeah.
All the people that he has been connected with, a lot of their people are dead. Like he would hang out with Puffy, and Puffy's child's mother, Kim Porter, she died mysteriously.
Jeff Epstein.
You know, Jeff Epstein, he died mysteriously.
Oh, tell him about that.
See, I feel I've tried to reach out to Michael Cohen, like, because I listen to his podcast too. Yeah. And he, if you've ever listened to his podcast where he talks about how he was supposed to be let out of jail, but they gave him a document to sign that would make him, that he would have to refuse to allow his book to be printed. And, all government documents have codes like the F-210 and the T-20 and the 1099 and all that nonsense. Right. And this didn't have a code. It had no identifier. So he refused to sign it. He goes back into prison. He's in solitary. And then eventually they got him out. But I was for a long time, I really was trying to figure out who was behind Epstein's death. Was it Trump or was it Barr? Because Barr has an axe to grind with Epstein. Yeah. Because his father used to run Barr's father used to run a school called the Dalton School. That was where Epstein got his first job.
Even though he wasn't educated to do the job
at all. Exactly. But he was let go quietly. So we know what that means in the 70s. Yeah. And then he went to Bear Stearns and he that's how he met up with Lex Wexner, and that's how he ended up, basically embezzling all this money, that guy's money. And then but I have a feeling that I have a feeling that Epstein had the receipts on Barr's father, or he had the receipts on Donald Trump. Well, which is why he had to go.
Well, and the interesting thing about it is Donald Trump says, I didn't know him. I didn't have anything.
I didn't know him. Yeah, right.
He's full of shit up to his eyeballs.
Then we get all the information that says he was calling him every day for appointments and shit like that. But there's one thing that's often been said that Jeffrey Epstein looked up to Donald Trump as a mentor. And we know Donald Trump has the ability, the occasion to use blackmail to make a buck or two or to pressure people into doing things. And it's ironic that Jeffrey Epstein never did a trade that anybody could figure out, but he had billions of dollars. But he also had video footage of unsavory things by wealthy
Yep.
people. So he was probably blackmailing people too, as taught to him
Of course.
by Donald Trump. I mean, here's the thing. People
I can
always
tell
say
you,
that's a conspiracy theory, but I'm going to tell you right now, there's plenty of things in this
Right.
country that we don't know, and we
Right.
would be fucking appalled if we found out.
Yeah.
there's a guy that I used to work with God, 27 years ago, before I decided to get into cooking, seriously.
Right.
The guy that I used to work for in a very small magazine called the Wall Street Reporter.
Mm-hmm.
And his name was Michael Wax. All right. Michael Wax was an insider trader who went to jail for 7 years here in New York for, throwing down some serious cash and getting himself into some big trouble. And one day he was sitting down, we were just chewing the fat. And he said to me, "Listen, you ever heard of a guy by the name of Jeffrey Epstein?" I was like, "I heard that name before. What's it about?" He says to me, "Jeffrey Epstein, the dick that used to get himself involved in a lot of dirty deals. Dirty ass deals. And I basically took the bullet and rode those 7 years in jail for people like him." And I was like, "Why? Why would you do that?" And he said, "Because he had bodies and names attached to him that would make your fucking toes curl." This was 2000.
Wow.
All right. When he said this to me, I won't ever forget when the look on his face as he was telling me, this guy was drop dead serious. He looks at me and he says to me, "If you ever walk into a Trump-owned building, all right, step out of it as fast as you can. Because seriously, the blood that will come out of out of those walls will cover you.
Wow.
If you're as dark," he said to me, "You're as dark skinned as you are now. Okay. But you could really go from brown to red, from dark brown to red real fast with all the blood from the blood money that has come from the shit that's gone on between those guys."
And
I took him at his word.
that sounds crazy, but again, when Donald Trump is involved, he's done some pretty horrific things. I tell you what, Lisa and
Yeah.
Danz, we're going to take a quick break because I'm an
Okay.
old man and I got some shit I got to deal with.
Do you warn me of this? Go.
and we will be right back.
Right.
We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. We have two guests. Count them, two guests today. We have Danz and we have Lisa, and they are in New York City. We've had a fun conversation. It's kind of been all over the place, but I'm enjoying this a lot.
We are too.
We are too.
So Danz and Lisa, the eminent. I always look at news as what's the next biggest fucked up thing that's going to happen. and when this airs, it'll be the 5th of September, the 10th of September, 5 days away.
Right.
Is going to be the debate. Now, there's been some question as to whether it's going to happen or not. What's your gut feeling on it? Because he seems
Gut
to
feeling
go back and forth.
Gut feeling, to be honest. All right. If it's going to happen, okay, and I mean that, if it's going to happen, Donald Trump's going to keep trying to find a way till literally an hour before the damn thing is supposed to start to try to duck out.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, there's so many things that Donald Trump will have to stare down, because Kamala Harris won't be thinking about whether or not to lay them out or not. She will be prepared.
Yeah.
And she'll say, "Hey, listen, did your parolee let you, show up
Did
here?
your parole officer let you give you permission
Did
to
he
come?
give you permission to show up? If he didn't, you should leave now." Okay. Yeah. But seriously, the big thing will be that while he's going to try to use this as his platform to, say, oh, well, to use the economy as his thing.
Yeah.
The very first thing that's going to end up hitting him upside the head is the reality that, this woman comes with receipts. And the biggest receipt that she's going to have is, you were in charge before my boss was in charge. And here's the thing that I know. I know that if I'm a farmer in this country, okay, I have you to blame for the reason why I lost a bunch of money, not once, but twice.
Right.
Okay, in the space of 2 years, because you decided that, China was such a threat, and I needed to lose money on tariffs that you just happened to magically make happen.
Right.
And then you had the nerve to ignore an all-out pandemic, okay? A worldwide pandemic, a global pandemic, which eventually didn't just cost me money. It cost me literal materials and livestock, okay? And literal food, which, by the way, you didn't give me $1 back to make happen. As a matter of fact, you were busy trying to get your signature on checks to hand out to other people
For the stimulus.
for stimulus. And guess what? I had to apply for a loan, a PPP loan, to be able to keep my business afloat.
Right. Yeah.
But that will be one argument he will not be able to justify with a damn thing.
Well, and the thing about it is he doesn't have answers for anything. And as much as people wanted to get on Joe Biden about that debate, I don't understand why media ignores the absolute horrible performance Donald Trump had in that debate. He didn't answer one question. What he did say was lie, and he lied, and he lied. And that's been the big problem with the media. They just let him run roughshod, let him
Because
do whatever the fuck he wants.
You don't work for a little company called Sinclair Group.
Right, right.
And I will tell you this, and I wouldn't, and neither would I. Okay. The Sinclair Group has gotten their dirty mitts on a whole lot of media. And they have made it known that if you tell the truth about Donald Trump, if you tell it in such a way that it disparages us too, don't worry about having a job.
Right.
Not here, not anywhere.
Well, and also, unfortunately, during the debate between Biden and Trump, you had somebody who was jet lagged and overwhelmed
And
with
sick.
And look, at the end of the day, I've always said that while Biden has his gaffes and his mouth, the muscles in his mouth don't always allow him to articulate and have enunciate what he wants to say and accurately push out what he wants to speak on. At least when he speaks, he's not bullshitting you.
No, he's talking serious stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he could,
and truthfully,
he could be, looking at a cup and say, pass me the dish rag, and cup,
Right.
He has those types of gaffes without question. But unfortunately, the thing with Trump is even though the whole thing is a gaffe, okay, but he's spitting it out like a machine gun. He's and but I mean he's feeding you more lines of shit than one can swallow. But I mean, the point being, he's speaking fast and he's speaking loud and he's speaking strongly.
Right.
That gave everyone the impression that he had a more capable mind, which wasn't the case.
No.
Listen, I really think that debate, because there were no fact checkers, because I felt like when looking at Biden, it just looked like he was short circuiting, because it looked like he was waiting for somebody to say, no, that wasn't right. This is this and this and this. And nobody did that. Then he tried to speak, and his between the cold, the cold, the jet lag, and just being overwhelmed with all of what am I supposed to say versus what is confidential that I shouldn't be saying on
Well,
and
I think there's a personality mismatch too. I mean, when you have two fighters, if one fights one way and the other fights another way, it's kind of hard for one of them to come through. Joe Biden in his youth wasn't a forceful guy. He was more thoughtful. He laid back. He played on the defense. And unfortunately, when you have somebody like Donald Trump, you can't play defense. You got to match the energy. You got to attack him to throw him off his game. And Biden was never able to do that kind of thing.
I disagree.
Well, I mean,
hang on a second, I'm sorry. I disagree. You can play defense with Donald Trump, but you got to play a smart defense with Donald Trump. And the kind you can play with him is the kind that Joe Biden played in his first debate with him.
Right.
Because he didn't have to say much to be able to nail Donald Trump to the wall.
Well,
Donald Trump was already a guilty man in a lot of ways.
When he told him to shut up, that was it.
That was it.
Game
and
over.
That was enough. But the reason why you could tell him to shut up is because he kept rambling. He kept going on. He kept letting his mouth write checks his ass can't cash. But this is Donald Trump now too. So you don't have to play him. You don't have to play up to every single thing he does. This is kind of the reason why I think Tim Walz was a perfect choice to be the vice presidential candidate. Because one thing he can coach Kamala on, okay, and that a lot of people can coach Kamala on, not that she needs that much coaching, but he can particularly, is how to take on the personality of a complete teenage dumbass.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. Even in a 78-year-old body.
True.
And one thing about Donald Trump is that Donald Trump is not a different person. His cadence might be different than when he was, 40 years younger, 50 years younger. But he still lied back then too. Right. He double talked a lot of people back then too.
Oh, absolutely.
So today, so what you're getting today is no different.
But don't you think Kamala Harris is like the perfect opponent for him though?
Yes.
I mean, she's smart and she has the ability to attack back. And I'll be honest with you, whenever you get into a situation like this, the best thing to do with Donald Trump is exactly what happened in that black journalist thing. She came out, she hit him hard the first time. He lost his shit because he was embarrassed and he was worthless the rest of the time. That's what Kamala has to do, is kind of get under his skin and do that. But the last thing I will say, why she's the best possible opponent, look at the past 2, 3, 4 years. Who's the one person kicking his ass every time? It's a black woman. The two people he disregards the most: Letitia James, Fonnie Willis, Judge Chutkan, Omarosa Judge Chutkan. He can't. He looks at them as lesser than, and when they come out and kick his ass, that's where the embarrassment is. And that's the ultimate problem when you have a narcissist. You can do a lot of things to him, but if you embarrass him, that's the worst thing you can do.
And that's the thing. You don't need a lot of words to embarrass him.
No.
And this is a big key to it. And this here is a big key to it. Kamala Harris can reduce the amount of words having to be used to make that happen. I mean, unlike and I'm not trying to undercut Letitia James. I'm not trying to undercut Judge Chutkan, anyone else really. When it comes to Kamala Harris, I've seen something about her. When she wants to get wordy and be the lawyer, she can.
Yeah.
When she wants to reduce it and just be a person, she can. Believe me, they come from this school. I mean, we've seen this. Okay, Black women come from a school, and I don't care what generation they're from, with the exception of the Gen Zs, the kids. Okay, they haven't learned this yet. But Black women come from a school of understanding that I don't have to kill you with too many words.
Right.
I know exactly which one to hit you with, though. Having a mother who didn't always have to hit me to get her point across. Okay. She learned me this lesson pretty quickly. All I have to do sometimes is look at you, and you can figure out every goddamn word that's in my head.
Yeah.
just like that one. It was like one of the first rallies that Kamala held when the person was coming out with protesting about Israel, and she just looked at him like, "We're really gonna do this here? Like, I already acknowledged you. Like, the look on her face. We're really gonna do this here? I already acknowledged you. I said I'd listen to you. What? You know what I mean?"
Yeah, exactly.
And it stopped.
And it stopped. But I mean, like, her facial, you saw the facial expression was, she said a whole bunch without saying a word.
Well, the one thing about Kamala and Tim, but Kamala especially, is that she's different than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is one-dimensional. Donald Trump is Donald Trump. He doesn't change. Kamala Harris, you can watch her kick Brett Kavanaugh's ass in that Senate or that hearing. You can watch him kick her ass, and then you can watch her yesterday when she went off script and talked about the shooting in Georgia. She can be compassionate, and she can be one cold bitch too. There's more facets to her. And and at the same time, the amazing thing I was surprised by, because she is tough, I was afraid that people in America, white people in America, say, "Oh, she's just an angry Black woman." But that's not what they did. They like that she's tough. They embrace her. And because she laughs and dances and is more down to earth, people just want that.
She hasn't lost her, she hasn't lost her humanity.
No.
Like, usually these politicians, they end up looking like a bunch of paper dolls. They end up looking like, you can't picture them brushing their teeth. You can't picture them like, eating a sandwich. Like, all of a sudden you just see them and they're, their little pose, their automatic poses and whatnot. But my my thing is that so for me, Trump is very much a street fighter. Even though I mean, I'm sure he curses and what have you, but he's a street fighter. Biden is more of an educated fighter. He is more, he'll get you with the facts, and he'll make you look stupid.
Oh, but the Irishman in that guy will knock you fucking.
But not yeah. This is the same person who said it is a big fucking deal, Barack. Yeah, no, I got you on that. But when it comes to fighting, when it comes to arguing the point, he is more of a structured fighter. He is not quite the street fighter, especially when he's got his politician hat on. Okay. When he's got the mic on.
You're referring to Biden.
Biden is very conscious and aware of where the mic is.
Still representing the country.
I represent the country. I can't just tell this guy to go fuck off. He knows where he is, and that's how he's not as off out to lunch like the other one.
He swears he is,
like the other one is. But what Kamala does is she does something, like, she hammers it home. She does something. I would watch my stepmother do this with my father. Like, "You're coming home, right? You're coming home, right? Yes. You're coming." Like, don't sit there and, but you're coming home. She'd say it 3, 4, 5, 12 times. Same words. I want to hear the answer.
All right, I'm living.
Like, just like what she did. That's how she undressed Bill Barr, was when she said, "Did the president ask you a question about a favor? Maybe he inferred, maybe he implied, maybe he asked." She's asking him the same fucking question, but she's just using different words because I guess maybe that's the rule or whatever, or maybe she's trying to find something that suits his fancy as to what will sound best.
She drilled him down.
But
She drilled him down as an attorney, which makes total sense.
But I mean, she basically, and that's how you have to fight him. How you have to fight somebody like Trump. It's like, are you gonna, I want to know, did you ask? Did you go? Did you go? Did you go? Because when you do that, you're showing somebody you're pitbulling the argument. You're not letting that go. And when they feel like they can't just snap it and because the best defense for a narcissist like him is to be able to flip the channel real quick and make it and flip you in the position and oh, maybe it was you and maybe it was somebody else and well, as soon as they sit there and they push you down and they put their finger in your chest and say, it was you, it was you, it was you. Oh, but maybe, no. It was you. As soon as you do things like that and you hammer it down like that, that's how you get him. Well, and I think she has proven herself to be excellent at that.
Well, I think, my contention has always been the whole reason we have Donald Trump and MAGA is the fault of media. Because if journalists actually did what they were supposed to do in 2015 when Donald Trump said some bullshit, you go, wait a minute. No, explain that. And he'll say, no, we'll go off. No, come back. I know I've done this with Trumplefucks on my show. They tried to divert. Sure. I go, nope, come back here. You tell me you answer that fucking question. If somebody would have done that to Donald Trump in 2015 instead of just let him run fucking crazy, he would never have been president because he would have been exposed.
The most telling part of that particular time was the
which one? The Mexicans are racist, or the fact that he was playing?
No. The grabbing the women.
The Billy Bush.
Once you have it cold on TV and you're able to air it.
Yeah.
Literally, that should have been a death blow of him because quite frankly, it's a matter of, oh, you didn't do this? Oh, really? You didn't do this? Let's play this again. Oh, no, don't play it again. No, we're gonna play it again. Oh, no, we don't have to play it again. No, we're gonna play it again. I'm gonna play it again. I'm gonna play it again. Yep. And then play it again. And then why are we gonna play it again? Because this happened and you're not going to deny it. And the big problem is that too many times in too many different places, he was allowed to
let him off the hook. Yeah.
They let him off the hook because he was allowed to deny it. And the denial, which he lives for and he lives on, all right, is the reason why we have him. I mean, every which way possible, he has been allowed to play the denial game down to the hilt. Roy Cohn taught him too well.
Yeah.
But it is still the responsibility of responsible people to sit on his shoulder and let him understand you're not done with this till we're done with you.
Right.
And that failure, I couldn't agree with you more. That failure by the media and also by the Department of Justice and by the Department and by the FBI in particular.
I am very disappointed in Garland.
I'm not even. Well, let's not even bring up Garland because Garland's not the person, not really the culprit here. Let's go. We have to go backwards to one James Comey because it really fell on him. Because it really fell on him, and he had a responsibility, and he decided, I'm going to play the political card here, as opposed to doing what's right with a person who literally was sitting across from you and was breaking the law in front of your face, and you had a responsibility to do what was right in terms of justice, because justice had you been strong enough and said justice matters, like a certain Glenn Kirshner we all know and love.
Yeah.
If you had said out loud justice matters, Donald Trump is gone.
Right. Well,
Donald Trump is gone.
James Comey may be the most despicable person in this whole thing because, like you say, he comes out with this bullshit thing on Hillary Clinton at the last minute, which he wasn't supposed to do. That's against
At
DOJ
all.
rules.
Right.
He does it. But what bothers me about it now is now he's going around, oh, I hate Donald Trump. I'll write a book. I'll go on talk shows and stuff. He's flip-flopping. And the whole reason we're here is because that dumb fucker was complicit with Donald Trump.
If there is a guy, I apologize. Go ahead.
My thing is, you know, Trump is the type of person he doesn't necessarily do all his crimes in the dark alleys.
Right.
He'll do it in the front, in the front, in broad daylight, and on the front yard, sun shining, and a big traffic going back and forth. So that way, people say, "I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Right.
I can't believe he did this. I can't. No, it can't be. It can't be possible." And let me tell you something. I know that that next night after Comey brought out the issue about her emails, and he then went to that dinner and sat across from Trump, and he then realized he was sitting right behind right in front of the fucking devil himself. Yeah. I know he must have been like, oh, fuck. Yeah. Like, I know.
I have used the term. I have used this term. You've probably heard this, Mike, more than once. I've used the term empty shirt.
Yeah.
Referring to a lot of people. James Comey might be the biggest empty shirt on the planet.
Oh, absolutely.
He might be the very biggest on the planet. If Donald Trump, I consider Donald Trump a completely empty shirt. But if there is one person who may be even more so than him, it is James Comey. Oh. And James Comey basically decided to screw this country in the way that
in more ways
that no member of the Supreme Court ever screwed Al Gore.
Yeah.
In no way, shape, and form. James Comey absolutely one-upped the entire Supreme Court. Louis Scalia could get out of his grave and say, yeah, you beat me. I mean, seriously, he really could.
Because Scalia would say, that's fucked up. And that's saying something.
He really could.
I mean, really and truthfully, I will say the only good thing that has happened since Trump's presidency is all of the flaws have been exposed.
Right. I've said that too.
I'm sorry, but how an experienced person like Comey, who went through, training, FBI, CIA, the military, this, that, how with all that you've amassed, with all of the experiences, all of the training you've undergone, all of the information you've absorbed, you couldn't see a fucking charlatan standing in front of you?
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
I mean, to me, that is scary, and it exposes so much, because you would have thought the one person who could undress somebody without them knowing it would be somebody from one of the alphabets, either the CIA or the FBI or
you would think so. You would think so.
I think it has something to do with her emails. Like, really?
I agree with you, and I've said this before, and some people have pushed back on me, and I don't give a fuck. It's my show. But I've said that what Donald Trump did by exposing all this shit may be a net positive to this country, because dirty shit, underhanded shit has been going on for decades. We just haven't seen it. Now it's been brought to the surface like a fever blister. Now we got to deal with it. And once we get in a position to be able to deal with it with Kamala Harris and hopefully a Democratic Congress, now we can clean some of this shit up. The sunshine and the disinfectant. We're finally getting to that point, and Donald Trump, being a dumb motherfucker, brought it to the surface. And I'm sure a lot of people in politics are going, wow, fucking cool it.
Yeah. Can I say something about that, actually? I'm glad you brought that point up. I was not surprised to find that that she authorized dropping that money down to the remainder of the DNCC.
Right. She's going to
To be
send
able to get
$25
the
million
down ticket.
down ticket. Yeah.
Right. But that's a testament to two things. Okay. It's a testament, one, to how far this movement has come in a very short time. That
Yeah.
it is literally to the point where it's overflowing, that she could turn around and say, not just me, all of you. That also speaks to something else too. It speaks to something that is very true about Black women in this country. And I know this to be true about Black women in other countries. When you organize, okay, as a Black woman, you don't think about the thing you're going to do right now. You think about which way I can go up by going down to bring up others along with me. And I'll tell you this from the number of experiences I've had with many organizing styles. When I heard this, it didn't surprise me because it made me think of something that my own mother has done. Okay. When my grandmother died, she died in 1994. We attended my grandmother's church, which is separate from my mom's church. It's an Episcopalian church. And they had enough finances to kind of help with the burial and all kinds of other stuff. My grandmother was a little bit short when it came to her insurance to cover funeral costs. My mother, by way of several other Black women who associated with my grandmother, got together and created two groups. One, out of it came all the money to be able to take care of the funeral, every funeral cost, everything. Okay. The second thing that came out of it was something that was inspired by it, which was a scholarship fund.
Wow.
Which even later on, I was shocked to find out later on that they had made a donation so big to create a scholarship fund for kids to go to college in my grandmother's name.
Wow.
30 years later, this is still ongoing.
Really?
Okay. I went by my grandmother's church maybe, God, 19? Was it 2019?
It was before the pandemic.
Yeah, so it's probably 19.
And I think it might have even been before Trump got into office.
It might have, no, not then. It was after. But anyway, we went there, and an old friend of my grandmother saw me. I haven't seen this woman since I was probably 4.
Wow.
Okay, 4.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
A little bit.
She saw me, and she recognized me, and she said, "You're Sister Brian's grandson." And she gave me such a hug, I broke down crying.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen this woman. Her name was Miss Nettles, and I hadn't seen this woman since then. And then she said to me, "Come downstairs. I want to show you something." She brought me downstairs. And sure indeed, that day when we were there, okay, we ended up going downstairs, and they were awarding one of the young people that scholarship fund that day. $30,000.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's amazing.
Okay. I was stunned because I had no idea. No member of my family ever told me. To this point, my grandmother's been gone now at that point, like 25 years at that point, and no one ever told me. And to find out, and it was organized by those women, and I know which women it happened to be, because 2 of them actually happened to die that same year in 2019.
Wow.
So I'm not surprised when Black women decide, no, we're not stopping at one little thing. We're not stopping at amassing to fulfill one thing. Yeah. We need to go deeper. We need to get down to the roots and pull people up. I'm never surprised by that.
Well, and I've learned that lesson as a pasty white guy from the Midwest who doesn't know fucking anything, you know.
Oh, stop that, Williams.
All the people I have on the show, I learn a lot from everybody, you know.
Mhm.
Some people think I'm here teaching people. No, I'm fucking
Mhm.
the secret to having a good podcast is getting people smarter and more accomplished than you, and you just look good. But I learned a lot by having Old Soul on the show.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now this woman, you've heard her, of course, I'm
I've
sure.
many times, many
Okay,
times.
Old
Mhm.
Soul is this sweetheart of a woman
Mhm.
who is like an earthbound angel to a lot of folks.
Mhm.
But she's also fucking formidable. She's emotional about things. She'll
That's
start
okay.
crying, but she is formidable. And what you're saying is reminds me of the fact that she brings these girls in that need the reproductive health care, and they stay at her
Wonderful.
house. Uh, and then not only that, as far as organizing, she's got Uncle Cleo, her TT, she's got her mom, her daughter, her
Mhm.
daughter's
Mhm.
boyfriend, and they're all coming together to to help the situation. And it's gotten so much so she's got this one wild
Mhm.
child who came in
Mhm.
who looked like she was crazy. Now she's fucking adopted her and probably going to send her to college and whatever she's going to do. But
Yeah.
but the point is when you look at the Republican side of thing, it's a much different thing. And this is their ultimate failing. It's all about what do I get? Why didn't I get this? It's all about me. There is no us in what they want to do. Donald Trump is like that. All the Republicans are like that. And that is the ultimate failing in that group of people.
I think now it might be a little bit different now in this sense. When you're seeing some of the Republicans who are now kind of straddling over, kind of coming
Yeah.
back from the dark side, so to speak, I think they realize that having that attitude is exactly the death blow that brought us to this point.
Well, no
And a lot
hurry
of
in
them are
figuring
having
that
that.
out.
Yeah, really. But I mean, but they are really having that moment. They're having that epiphany. And you know, what's scaring them the most is having the realization that they didn't sign up for this. A lot of them signed up for for the old Republican way, so to speak. The blaming and the finger pointing, making you afraid of it, telling you who's to blame for it. They signed up for that. They'll live with that till the day they die. But
I thought it was old school, small government and
small government,
trickle.
trickle down, Second Amendment bullshit, whatever. But many of them did not signing up for pure on criminality and knowing full well that they did not sign up for the culpability of the misculpability. They also wanted to have a certain level of Christian value without you having to hear the word Christian in every value.
Right.
They've seen it go to an extreme that they never signed up for. It has never been part of their MMO. And I'm sorry to say, but this is the ruin of having a Donald Trump stand on
Yeah.
your bully pulpit.
Yeah.
And they're paying for it. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to feel bad that you have to pay for it. But I will say this. And I say this as an American, I say this as a father and a grandfather, and I say this just as a human being. Kamala Harris was right. The DNC happened to be right. There is room for you to come back. But it does require something.
Yeah.
Something you may not want to give, but you're going to have to. It's called an apology.
Yeah.
And I will say this, and there are going to be people who are listening to your podcast now, and they're going to be looking for me all over my TikTok, and I don't give a flying fuck. But make sure you say it accurately. You better come with an apology. Not for me. Not for Kamala Harris. Not even for any other Black person in this country. There is one family that you owe an extremely big and heartfelt apology to. And having
Clintons or the McCains?
neither.
Oh.
The Obamas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let me say why I'm saying that. Because the Obamas represented themselves, not me, not my skin,
Yeah.
not anybody else in this country.
That's where you got to start
And
with the
they
birther shit.
took every shot,
Right.
every single shot, and still stood up and served this country for 8 consecutive years. And in no way will you be able to look at me as an American and as a Black American and say anything to me about me until you have put them in front of you and you have issued them an apology.
Yeah.
For every single thing that either you did or you permitted in the name, or exactly in the name of telling you who's to blame for it and making you afraid of it.
Right.
Plain and
I,
simple.
I think, I think I can kind of relate to how some Republicans are feeling now or will feel in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a group, in a family, you assume people have your back. Now, I've talked about my father. He's a narcissist, sociopath. He was a fucking piece of shit. But he was very successful and he had a fair amount of money,
Okay. Okay.
And when I got married and I had kids, or started to have kids, my first
Mm-hmm.
son,
Mm-hmm.
we struggled financially. I mean, it was hard. But I always had this feeling in my soul that says if it gets really bad, my dad will always be there to back me up.
Sure.
Okay. So at one point, it does get bad, and I go to my dad, no go. And that moment in time when you're like 25 and you're struggling, and the one person you can go to is your dad, and he says, fuck
Mm-hmm.
off.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very lonely feeling. And
Very.
I have a feeling that the Republicans are going to start feeling that
Not
because
starting.
their party isn't backing them up. They got to save themselves at that point.
Not starting. They've already been there.
They're
As a
already.
matter of fact, I'll give you a prime example of why they've been there already. Literally from January 6th, they have been there. Because, like I said, they didn't sign up for this.
Right.
They didn't sign up for the criminality that came from that. They didn't sign up for the losses of life that they saw. Literally, the quote unquote leader of their party literally standing up and okaying without, and not in so many words, but certainly okaying the number of deaths that they watched, okay, during COVID.
Right.
So and then and forget about the shenanigans that predated that. I mean, every single thing that they had to stand and watch and kind of just turn kind of with that cheeky, oh yes, Mr. President, oh sure, Mr. President, routine that they had going on during his time. All of those things have come to head, and they've seen the worst of it, and they've seen the worst of him, and they realize, no, none of this shit is where we signed up when we were first getting him. He told us it was going to be this. They told us it was going to be this. They didn't say it was going to be this.
Right.
And what this is horrific. And even unto the lowest of the low. Okay, even to the lowest of the low. Even someone who stood there and had to be witness to it and participate in it in such ways. And I'm referring to former Vice President Mike Pence.
Right.
Even he had to grow a spine and tell mother, sorry, I've got to be a man and I can't let it slide. Okay. He had to do that.
Don't you
He had
think
to do that.
Don't you think they have to address? I mean, like I've said, it's amazing to me that they've gone this far and they still stand with Donald Trump. Eventually, they have to address the biggest flaw in the Republican Party with Donald Trump, and that's cowardice. These people had every opportunity to step away, but they were absolute cowards in the whole process. And why, I don't know.
Oh, that's easy. That's easy, and I'd give it to you in 6 words.
What?
The devil you know
Yeah.
is always right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Okay?
true.
It's true. So the devil you know is always right. The devil you know is right. That's 6 words. I'm saying.
I think a lot of things that Trump did was create mini Trumps. And he made them he made them act the same way that he acts and placate a lot of the things. He tried to make them agree. Oh, tell them COVID isn't real, and tell them that COVID is just like the flu. Tell them. And he really was, the guy who's cheating on his wife, who says that he was with John, and John's got to now lie to the guy's wife and say, yeah, he was really with me when he was really screwing around behind her back.
While that could be true, it's not. And here's why.
Wait a minute. I agree with her.
I hear you, but I can disprove that.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
I mean, my thing is okay. Look at Cruz.
Mhm.
Look at Rubio.
Mhm.
Look at well, no, Lindsey Graham is single. And God only knows what he'd be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Look
I don't think he's single.
No.
Well, we don't know. Yeah, but we don't know what he's doing.
We just know he's sometimes not available.
Yeah.
Lindsay's a catch.
Yeah, really.
For the right people.
I mean,
yeah, right.
and JD Vance
Yeah.
and what have you.
Yes.
All of these people are going to have the same type of marriage that he has, which is distant, plastic, unfamiliar,
loveless,
and
loveless,
and everything is good and transactional.
Yes, well, those things are true.
Okay, I don't think would your wife stay with you if you were running for office and somebody insulted your wife and said that your wife is ugly or said your wife is this or that, and you didn't say anything, you didn't drop
I tell you what, you can call me ugly, you can call me a dipshit, you call my wife or my kids, that's fucking a different deal.
Exactly.
I will be unmerciful on those motherfuckers.
Exactly. And look at Cruz, look at Rubio, look at all of them. They're all listen, when Trump finally leaves this fucking earth, and God, please, it would be a nice day. Okay.
Okay.
That all these people, their marriages are going to be shit. Their lives are going to be shit. Their careers are going to be shit.
But their marriages and lives are already shit. But really,
yeah, but it wasn't shit before he came along.
Let's let Danz give his point that's bullshit and wrong. Go ahead, Danz.
I love you, Mike. Seriously. No, I mean, if that was the case, right, we still have George Santos.
True.
I mean, and here's why I'm saying that. Here's why I'm saying that. It's as evident as the nose on people's faces that George Santos was trying his hardest to give us a different version of Donald Trump, but a Donald Trump nonetheless.
Right.
That man was a human punchline.
He was.
He was Latino. He was gay. He was a Republican MAGA. Let me. It's so with. I was once at a bar.
Yeah, I was once at a bar, and then I got approached by a billboard.
And I came out as a gay Latino Republican. Like, I mean, honestly.
I know, but the thing with George Santos, and I'm grateful. I am absolutely grateful that for once I have to give the Republican House just this modicum of credit. Okay, that they got it right when it came to him to get his ass out of there. But I'm even more so grateful to the people. By the way, he's in my neighboring district. By the way,
yeah.
Wow.
Okay, he was representing my neighboring district that Tom Suozzi lost initially, and that's what Tom Suozzi was able to get back.
Well, no, he's in great.
But no, he moved. That's why he's there now.
Well,
but he lost there first.
Yeah.
But George Santos could very well have found his way to slipping out of that and prove to really be a Donald Trump, okay? And find himself sitting right back in the same seat he was in. Hang on. He could have very well found himself to be sitting right back in the same spot And let's be real about this. He didn't lie about one thing.
Nobody
He
even
didn't
really
lie
knows that
about-
George Santos is his real
It's
name.
even his real name. I mean, George Santos was so, I mean, it was so crazy. But it was so believable to people who would believe it because of one thing, and one thing only, because it had an R in front of his, and
Right.
in front of his name.
Well,
But what's
JD Vance has 3 names.
This is the point.
yeah.
This is the point.
I mean, but what's
Hang on. No, he just made my point, and this is why you're disagreeing with me doesn't count, and you're fine. All right, but seriously, but you just made the point. Like, you know, if you're looking for a reason to do something, you'll do it. But if you don't have all the information and all the why not, okay, you'll do it. I mean, you'll just stick to doing it because instead of you knowing all of what you're getting, okay, you'll just take anybody if you're a Republican in this particular case because you just want to stick it to quote unquote stick it to Democrats.
the libs?
So you'll take
Own
so
the
you'll
libs,
so you'll quote unquote own the libs with pure bullshit.
I mean,
Really?
I mean,
Oh yeah.
my-
How's that working out with the guy who's I was sitting in the White House?
Yeah.
How's that working out?
Yeah, it never works.
All right then.
I mean, my whole thing is, you know, it's one thing if you're not a fan of liberalism or the Democrats. That's, you know what,
Teach their own.
religion is like underwear. Everybody finds comfort in what they like, and that's fine. But you need to have a series of facts to go with it,
Mhm.
and you need to make your shit sound correct. You can't just, or you shouldn't, I should say, you shouldn't be speaking as though you're a newcomer to the planet and you're coming with your own facts. I mean, this is the part about, like you were mentioning about 2015, Mike. You know, it's like literally that is like the Mason-Dixon line of like truth and alternative facts.
Yeah, absolutely.
That literally is the last time when your Republican friends and your Democratic friends and your independent friends all could say, yes, today is Thursday, September 5th or 6th, and agree.
Yep.
Up until after that, after that man showed up, nobody could point to up or down or north or south. Everything was an argument. Everything has been an argument because there are no aligned, agreed upon facts that we can all say happened.
Mike, excuse me a moment.
Okay, go ahead.
And,
Lisa's
you know-
going, fuck, now I got some time.
No, it's fine. But I mean, like, no, there aren't an aligned set of facts. Everybody, you know, if you ask a Republican, they'll tell you what January 6th was. If you ask a MAGA, they'll tell you what January 6th was. If you ask them, everybody's got it's too much. There is no home base to come back to.
Right. Well,
And that's what makes, like you were saying about you know, you and your friend, you don't really speak much because there isn't much to come back to.
Right.
You know?
You know, the thing about narcissists, Jeff, and you probably have dealt with narcissists. I have.
My father was one.
But then you'll understand what narcissists do, like a George Santos or like a Donald Trump. They exaggerate everything to make their point. It's the worst or that's the best, and it has no bearing on what's true. They will just exaggerate. And Donald Trump did it to a fault when he was talking about how all the jobs that Joe Biden created were taken by illegal immigrants. He said 100%, and he couldn't help himself. He says, I think it's higher than that, more than 100%. Well, Donnie,
107.
It can't be more than 100%, Donnie. But that's what they do, and they go off on these tangents, and they just exaggerate, and they get the ball rolling, and they can't stop themselves. And apparently, it's catching with other Republicans. They go, I like that idea. I'll go with that.
Yeah, but that's the part. See, that's the part when he goes past 100%. That's the part when I say there's there now the Donald Trump that I grew up with, that I know, I now
You hear him now.
you're gone.
Mhm.
You're gone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The old Donald Trump that I have grown up to know would have stopped at 100% and made his point and moved on. And this is the part that his father had Alzheimer's. It wouldn't be a far shot to hear that he's got something
No.
going on. It is what it is. I mean, honestly, to me, it looks like he's suffering from dementia. My father, I didn't realize that he had dementia before my father passed. Which is why my father's thing was to do imitations. So he used to do like Rodney Dangerfield imitations. And he could be talking to you, and then all of a sudden, I get no respect. I get no respect. And it was like this was him like his mind.
Sway.
His mind is going back home where he feels where he feels like he knows what he's talking about. That to me is literally I guess what he's
That's why
going through.
Hannibal Lecter comes up. I tell people, even at my advanced age of 64, I have memory
Mhm.
lapses too. And the way I explain it to people so they understand is I can remember the 70s like it was yesterday,
Mhm.
but I frequently forget to zip my pants coming out of the bathroom today. That's
That is.
that's how it works. I mean,
There
your
it is.
short-term memory is
Shot.
yeah. So we're getting toward the end here, and I'm just curious
Yeah.
as to how you see this going toward November. There are a lot of people. I get tired of watching the media and them saying, "Oh, it's so close. It's a toss-up." I just don't buy that.
It
The
isn't.
facts don't bear that out.
It isn't. And I'll tell you, even now I'm seeing polls that are saying, she's up by, 3 points, 4 points, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. Honestly, you can feel when someone is,
Yeah,
3
there's a
points,
vibe.
4 points.
The ground has
The
shifted.
ground has shifted.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised. First of all, I don't think that the pollsters are grabbing hold of people the way that they're saying they are.
No.
Proof in that is the fact that our landline is sitting over there, and we get a lot of calls. Okay, we don't pick them up because a lot of times it brings spam risk. I'm sure you've had a dozen of those
All
a
the
day.
time.
Okay, do you know the RNC calls us regularly?
I
The
get
RNC
I get
calls us.
text.
No. The RNC calls us, not the DNC.
I'm
The
talking about the
RNC.
RNC. They call me too.
Oh yeah. They call
But-
us regularly.
But we're registered Democrats.
We're registered Democrats.
We're both registered Democrats.
I mean, and the funny thing is that when you look at that phone and you're like,
The orange.
why the hell's the RNC calling? And so you say to yourself,
Lara Trump wants to have
okay,
a
so
position.
I mean, I can sing, but I know Lara Trump. Okay, but I mean, it should be so obvious to people that when you're watching the number of phone calls coming,
Yeah.
neither one of us pick up the phone. We'll pick up the phone. Mom calls, her mom calls, my mom calls, blah, blah, blah. But we'll leave them behind. But those calls come so frequently per day that you realize, no. The polls are bullshit because they're not even getting a hold of us. Okay. And they're not making as many calls as they claim they are. But if our phone rings 8 times a day and we're not picking it up, that's telling me there's a freaking groundswell. That means the RNC is scared out of their goddamn mind,
Right.
because they realize
to convince us as opposed to just
correct. That's what I was about to say.
Well, if we
Is
can't
that-
trust what the media says, how can we trust polls where we don't know who owns them, the questions they're asking, who they're talking to, and what they're doing with the data? It's all about
Agreed.
creating a concept in the country that doesn't exist.
You, sir, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. You look at the number of comments you get per day, per statement. And if you can't tell me that I've seen enough of them to know, All right. I've laid out a bunch of them to be able to know.
Yeah.
There are times when I come onto your thing and you've got like 9,000 comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easily.
So easily. And I can tell you that at least 2/3 of those are going to come from Blue Dogs.
Oh yeah.
And I know that because those are my followers.
Yeah.
This is how I know. I have a little over 3,500 followers. I've even cut down some numbers because I got some duplicates and some liars in there.
Yeah, you got to cut some people out.
And by the way, a lot of your face shows up on a lot of my accounts.
That's cool.
I've had at one time I had six people trying to imitate you.
Yeah, I got at least 10. I got like 5 or 10 of them.
They've come to me.
In a day.
They've come to me trying to
I know.
imitate me.
Oh, I've had people trying to imitate me too.
It's
Don't feel
ridiculous.
bad. But getting back to the point, I mean, you don't have to do polls when all you have to do is just look at the commentary on people like you and myself, okay, and others who I can see, and you're an independent, I'm a Democrat, and honestly, I don't even have to think about it. I can literally walk away. There's one creator absolutely who would tell me everything I need to know. That's Chasing Oz.
Yeah,
Chasing Oz, and all I have to do is basically look at the number of comments that she gets. Most of hers, at least 2/3, I would even say 3/4 of her comments come from Blue Dogs who comment on yours and comment on mine, and that's enough to tell me that the polls are bullshit.
I tried to imitate Chasing Oz's giggle and it didn't pan out, so I quit.
No.
My thing is okay. Well, so a few things. So last weekend I was out in Long Island. Normally I see at least we see a lot of Trump signage, and usually. And then even up until a couple months ago, we would see what I call the Al Qaeda flags going by with in the dump trunk and everything.
Y'all Qaeda.
Yeah, y'all Qaeda. Right.
Good, that I'll use that.
I didn't make it up. I stole it from somebody, but give me credit anyway.
Really use that. On Monday, we only saw one Y'all Qaeda and one house with a bunch of flags. A lot of Harris signage, Harrison Wall signage. None of it ripped, none of it written on, none of it cursed or anything like that. Clean and just being clean as any other. A couple, even I want to say maybe 3 weeks ago, there was a woman, she had on a shirt about voting for, and you could see that was when before Kamala had walls.
Right.
And I remember saying to her, because my mom and I, we like to go to estate sales out in Long Island. So there was a woman, she had a right. she had something about voting or something like that, or Kamala. And I said, "Ooh, nice shirt." And then she was like, "Oh, thank you." And I said, "But I know it must be tough out here." She's like, "Yeah, it is." And that was what was it? Now Kamala's been out now a month. So now 7 weeks, that was tough. And now here we are as of this past Monday, day before yesterday. It looks very where it was like a lot less signage. Only one y'all Qaeda truck, whatever you want to call it, the flags. My whole thing is that it's that when the media does that with it's going to be a tight race, and then they kind of almost speak as though she's already won. It really is, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you do, because if they say it was a tight race, then you're going to have Trump saying, they were saying it was a tight race. She could not have won. She had to have cheated, just like he did.
You're right.
Oh, remember the basement Bidens, right? How could she have won? How could he have won? That's a bullshit. Yeah, he doesn't even have one rally. And if they say that she already won, oh, look, see, they're already cheating. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you do. So I really, you hear what you hear. I think they're trying to ride a fence of saying, yeah, we think so, we hope so, we think so, we hope so. I mean, but really and truthfully, we are damned if we do and damned if we do, because either way you cut that slice, it's going to be a cut.
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's going to use it against you.
He's gonna cry. He's gonna cry one way or the other. But I mean, the big thing about his crying is that he's gonna cry because most of all, people just won't look this man in the eye and just tell him point blank, dude, it's not you. It's us. It's not you. And the failure of doing that 2020, okay, is what brought us to where we were on January 6th.
Right.
People won't look this man in the eye, and then he'll and Lord knows we've heard him confess at this point more than once. Oh, my staff or the people that told me, that we that I lost, and then he's standing there talking about, oh, I can't believe I lost to this guy.
Listen.
Can you believe I lost to this guy? With all that shit there, and you still go ahead with January 6th, you're a fucking clown.
This man does not know a single solitary soul who is not being paid for by him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I had a friend who dated Mike Tyson.
Oh.
Had anyone listened to me, I would have told you, don't bet on Mike that last fight. Because she was the reason why when he was training in Hawaii, that's why he lost. But neither here nor there. But the point being,
yeah,
that's another show. We're gonna have you back.
We'll be back.
Yeah, I know.
we can be back.
We'll be back.
But the point that but one thing she did make crystal clear was that at the time she's like, Lisa, these people don't have, Mike does not have a single friend who will tell him straight up, the sky is blue and the grass is green.
True.
Right.
If he's saying the grass is blue and the sky is green, yeah, Mike, whatever you say, Mike. Yep, sounds good, Mike. Definitely. 100% works out. And I can guarantee you Trump has those exact same people, and he's known those people for years. And
Well, of course he does.
in some cases years, and in some cases milliseconds. And either way, no matter which way you cut it, whether it be Giuliani, his wife, his kids, any Lewandowski or whoever, anyone you speak to is getting paid for by him. So they are going to say whatever the hell that man wants to say. They're not going to tell him they will not tell him that the sky is blue. If he says the sky is green, it is as green as gonna be.
That explains my problem, because in my family, around my family, nobody says, hey, Mike, you're right. They go, that's fucking stupid. No, you're wrong about that shit. They keep my head on straight. We're going to wrap things up.
Yes.
Now, Dan's is on TikTok. What's your handle on TikTok?
I have two of them, actually.
Okay.
So my main is The Legend of Danz.
Legend, DANZ.
Yes, The Legend of Danz. That's
for our Canadian listeners, that's Dan Z.
Dan Z. Correct. Okay. And then my second one is Dan's Don't Walk. Okay, that's my
Don't Walk.
Don't Walk.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I will be sure and include you on that one, because I don't have you on that one. But I do have you on the first.
That sounds good. Lisa, are you on TikTok or anything?
Yeah, of course. I've reached out to you several times. I think you mentioned about going to New York once. I was like, you gotta come.
Oh yeah. I remember talking to you. Yeah. What are you on TikTok? What are you on TikTok?
I am no hustle, no profit.
No hustle, no profit. Okay. So
yep.
And I will guarantee you the people listening to the show will seek you out and will follow you, because if they don't, we'll just block them here. So you got to do it. I'm kidding. I won't block you, but I'll admonish you.
Okay.
So,
even worse.
Well, we can talk for a long time, and the fortunate thing is I do this show for whatever reason every night. So all you have to do is when you're ready and you caught your breath and you want to come back, just send me an email. You can come together, you can come separately. It doesn't matter. whatever you
Okay.
want to do. We would happily
you.
welcome you back. I think people will have fun listening to this show. So thank you both very much for you're staying up late. It's late in New
Thank you
York.
for having us.
Thank you for having
Don't worry about it. Late's not a big deal for us. Believe me, it's not a big deal for us.
Well,
It's
you
not.
young folks can handle it. Old man can't.
Not even for that reason. Each one of us work from home, so we're both fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Well, for those
Uh-huh.
those folks listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.